There's an organ in your body you didn't know you had. It grows its own blood vessels. It steals your testosterone and converts it into estrogen. And it lies to your brain, telling it you're starving to death while you carry enough fuel to survive for weeks without a single meal. It isn't your liver. It isn't your gut. It's the fat sitting on your waist right now. Most guys treat it as dead weight, a spare tank waiting to get burned off. It's the opposite. It's alive, it's busy, and it's working against you every second of the day. And on the way down from 30% body fat into the single digits, it does something different to your engine at every floor. Here's what's actually happening inside you, second by second, on the way down. At 30%, your fat tissue stops behaving like a warehouse and starts running like a factory. One of the things it manufactures is an enzyme called aromatase. Think of it as a counterfeiting operation set up inside your own body. It grabs testosterone, the raw material your drive and your muscle are built from, and converts it into estrogen before you ever get to use it. You're not just heavy. You're hosting something that skims your most important hormone off the top. But the worst damage is happening upstairs. Your fat cells release leptin, the hormone that's supposed to tell your brain how much fuel is in the tank. At a healthy level, it's a calm, clear signal. At 30%, it's screaming. There's so much leptin coming in that the message stops being information and turns into noise, a fire alarm going off around the clock. So your brain does the only thing it can. It stops listening. It pulls the receptors, jams in the earplugs, and goes quiet. Now you've got a strange problem. You could have weeks of energy strapped to your midsection, and your brain still reads the gauge as empty. It thinks you're in a famine, so it behaves like you're in one. It makes you hungry, and it makes you still. It turns down how much you move without asking you, and it tells you to sit down. This is the part almost nobody understands. You didn't get lazy. Your brain got a false readout and started rationing. Break that lock, get down to 25%, and the first thing that comes back online is the part of you that wants to do anything at all. Getting to 25% is a rescue job, and it's mostly mechanical. Picture a suitcase packed past the point of closing, someone kneeling on the lid to force the zipper. That's a fat cell at this stage. Every time you eat, insulin shows up to push more sugar into storage, and the swollen cells basically change the locks and refuse it. So your pancreas overcompensates and floods your blood with insulin to force the door open. High insulin has a side effect people rarely mention. As long as it's up, your body can't easily unlock its own fat to burn it. You're stuck holding the fuel and unable to spend it. Run a deficit for a while, and those cells start to deflate. The pressure drops. Insulin comes down. And now, for the first time, your body can reach into storage and actually pull energy out. You feel this one in your head before you understand it. Those overstuffed cells had been leaking inflammatory junk that sat on top of your dopamine system like static on a radio. And dopamine is what runs your willingness to start things. As the fat comes down, the static clears and the signal comes through. That urge to get off the couch and go do something, the one you'd written off as just getting older, comes back. But wanting to move isn't the same as your machine running right. That doesn't happen until 15. By 20%, the work finally shows up where people can see it. The waist pulls in. The face sharpens. There's an edge to your shoulders that wasn't there. But the change that matters most at this stage is one you sleep straight through. Fat packed around your neck and throat has been crowding your airway every night, chopping your sleep into pieces without you ever knowing it. As that fat comes off, the airway opens and the sleep gets deep again. That's the whole point, because deep sleep is your night shift. It's when growth hormone spikes, when muscle actually gets repaired, when your brain flushes out the waste it built up all day. So you don't just wake up less tired, you wake up rebuilt. And this is the moment a lot of guys describe the exact same way. They don't say they hit a goal, they say they feel like themselves again, because their body finally stopped fighting them. Most people think that's the finish. It isn't. At 15%, the counterfeiting ring gets shut down. Those overactive fat factories shrink, aromatase backs off, and your natural testosterone starts climbing on its own. But making more testosterone is pointless if it can't get where it's going, and a lot of that logistics runs through your liver. When you're carrying too much fat, the liver is greasy and sluggish, and half its delivery crew is off the clock. Hormones get made and then sit there with no way to move. Around 15%, the liver cleans itself up and puts the fleet back on the road. Now the testosterone you're producing actually reaches the muscle and the brain that have been waiting on it. This is where you stop feeling like you're patching leaks and start feeling like the whole system is pulling in one direction. And that sets up the one number evolution built you to run on. Somewhere around 12 to 15%, everything lines up. This isn't a random target. For almost all of human history, food came in waves, so we're built to run best with enough reserve to survive a lean stretch, but not so much that the fat starts sabotaging the machinery. That band is the setting the male engine was tuned for. Internal friction drops. Insulin is behaving. Inflammation is low. Leptin is finally being heard. Testosterone is up and getting delivered. Sleep is deep. None of that came from one magic hormone. It's the whole system running in balance for the first time in years. One thing you have to be dead clear on here, because the internet gets it dangerously wrong. This number is a man's number. For a woman, the same body fat isn't a peak, it's a shutdown. The female body is built around keeping a reproductive system online, and that takes meaningfully more essential fat. Push a woman down to a man's ideal, and her hormones don't sharpen, they switch off. Healthy for her lives a good deal higher. Same percentage, completely different verdict, depending on the body it's sitting in. So here's the obvious question. If 12 feels this good for a man, wouldn't going lower feel even better? If the shredded, veiny look the internet sells as peak health lives under 10%, why not chase it? Because that's where the machine turns on itself. Drop a man under about 10%, and from the outside it looks flawless. Inside, it's a controlled blackout. Your body reacts the way a phone does at 5% battery. It kills everything non-essential to keep the lights on. The screen dims first. Your thyroid throttles back. Your metabolism slows to conserve fuel, and your hands and feet go cold in a warm room. Then the background apps start closing. Reproduction is expensive, so the body files it under luxury, and testosterone gets cut hard. Then the cortisol climbs, and this is the ugly part. Imagine being trapped in a freezing cabin with no firewood left, so you start ripping the walls off your own house to feed the stove. That's what your body does when the fat runs low. It breaks down the muscle you spent years building and turns it into sugar to keep your brain alive. And up top, ghrelin, the hunger hormone, takes the controls. People who've been through real starvation describe the same thing every time. The personality thins out until there's almost nothing left but the hunt for the next meal. That's the truth behind the stage lean physique. It photographs like the summit of human health. Underneath, it's a system eating itself to stay alive. It's exactly why competitive bodybuilders don't hold that condition for more than a few days. The body wants no part of it. Your body fat isn't a number on a scale. It's the story of how your engine is running. And every extreme in that story is a version of the engine tearing itself apart. The static and the false famine at 30. The blackout and the self-cannibalism in the single digits. The whole game is that steady descent into the 12 to 15% range, and then living there. So next time you catch your reflection and think about the fat you want gone, reframe what you're actually doing. It isn't cosmetic, it's structural. You're clearing out an organ that has been jamming your hormones, lying to your brain, and rationing your energy. And you're finally letting the machine run the way it was built to run.